Good afternoon. How is everybody doing? Glad to have you here for another Saturday of work and learning. Hope you've been having fun with the rest of the classes. And today we'll keep moving forward with our design thinking process. I remember that last class I asked you to please have some materials today, whatever you have in your house to work, to create, to draw, like papers and post-its and pencils and whatever you have on hand. So hopefully you have some of that because we're going to be using that for this class. So without further ado, we started a couple of weeks ago with nothing, trying to learn about this new process that is going to help us to create or a product or a service having people as the center, as the motivation of all this process. Okay, the 5-stage process of design thinking. First, we went on to the empathize stage, the first stage where we got to talk to whoever is having the problem that we want to solve. Remember that for our project to be successful, it has to solve real problems of real people. If we're trying to just execute a cool idea that we have in our heads without doing this reality check of, am I solving a real problem? And does someone has this problem that I'm detecting? The probabilities of failure are way higher. And I know that we talked about this, about failure, saying that failure isn't real failure and it's another way of learning, which is true. But we are doing this, we're teaching you design thinking and all these other methodologies for you to lower as much as possible the chances of failure. So when you have to learn by failing, it's the least amount of times, and you learn by doing, not just by failing. Okay, so we went through the empathize stage where we get to know the problem and who's having the problem through the interview process. Then we got into the define stage. The define stage is the process where we narrow down everything that we learn from the people, everything that we learn about the problem, this big problem, and narrowed it down to one line, one piece of the problem that I'm going to be solving. Remember, if I want to solve world hunger, it's a huge problem, has a lot of parts, so I have to choose one and start solving that part little by little. Okay, so I choose that one part of the problem that I'm going to be working in, and then we move on to the ideate stage, which was last class, where we use a method to figure out a solution to the problem that I choose to solve. Remember what we did with the graphic and the brainstorming process, where we had to shoot a lot of ideas and organize then those ideas and see what's more doable and more innovative and what's left. So now we will, when we finalize or the third stage of design thinking, what we already should have is a real problem of real people, the narrowed down, condensed version of the problem, the part of the problem that I'm going to be working in, I'm going to be solving, and what solution I'm going to be implementing to solve that problem. And the fourth stage, which is today, is one of my favorite parts of innovation, that it's the prototype stage. Now we get to actually build the solution. This is the stage that separates wishful thinking and daydreaming from actual innovation, because all those ideas we bring down to reality. in a way that I'll show you during this class. And after our final stage, which is next week, and it's called testing, we will have our first version of our product or service. So from here to 2 weeks, you'll be the proud owners of an actual product or service. You will have created something from nothing. That it's very godlike power that you have. So the prototype stage is defined as an experimental phase where we get to identify the best possible solution and build it. The best possible solution for the problem that I chose and build it. This, of course, is a lot of words and perhaps don't make a lot of sense. So we'll strip down this definition and go important key words and key definitions in order to keep moving on. First, we talk about an experimental phase. What does this mean? It means that we get to experiment. This implies that we are going to use the scientific method of trial and error, just like we do with innovation in general. We are going to try our first, what's a word that you use in science? Well, our first experiment. We're going to do our first experiment and see how this solution that I chose to solve this part of the world hunger problem, we're going to construct it. We're going to build it. We get to identify, which means we need to pick one of many ideas that we ended up after the brainstorming process. We choose one. Remember that we had a process of, after the brainstorming, organizing all the ideas into a graph. I'm going to show it to you later. And then I choose just one idea, one solution that I'm going to be working in for the rest of the cycle, and then we'll see what happens. This is an experiment. It means that I don't know what is going to happen, and I'm going to try something new. A great number of things can happen, and it's all part of the process. You might realize at the end of this process that the solution is not really doable. It's not really executable. You might realize that you have the greatest idea ever because when you show your prototype to people loved it. You might realize that I need to put a little more work on this, and you start the cycle again. So this is welcome to your thinking lab, and this is a fun part to get very, very creative. We talk about creativity, and we'll talk about it a little bit more today. We have to find the best possible solution to the problem we are trying to solve. This process is not oriented to finding the coolest idea, the idea that is going to give me more money, the idea that is going to get me more famous, or the idea that I think is the coolest. Is the best possible solution to the problem that I want to solve that real people are having. Remember, we do this to help people, to solve people's problems. So we have to be very, very impartial with this process. Not only with this stage, the prototype stage, but with all the design thinking process. It's a very good and very hard at the same time exercise of humility. The first time that you do this, we are all blinded by what we see on the media, on movies and TV shows about great ideas and millionaires and famous people and Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or I forgot the name of the Tesla guy, but you know who I'm talking about. That is very cool and all, but what we need to do, what we need to learn this process, and it's going to take us a little time to actually be able to do it is I need to take everything that I want out of the equation. So the idea that I think it's the best, take it out of the equation. The idea that I think that I would love to work more on than the others, take it out. We need to be objective with the process. The people tells us what the problem is, what they're looking for in a solution, and what the best solution for this is going to be. So we need to develop the humility to accept that what we think or what we want might sorry might not be what the process needs. Okay. And the final part of this is we have to actually build it. This is, we get out of the theoretical phase, we get out of the ideas realm, we now go to actually build it. Okay. If you have any questions about this definition or anything that I'm talking about, please feel free to talk on the chat and I'll be reading you from here. So, after the definition, well, the first question is, how do I prototype? Prototype is a word that we might heard around a bunch of times. We might have a faint idea of what it is, but how do I actually do it? How do I actually make something? Anybody make something? Do I have to be an engineer, an expert, a technical specialist? Actually, and thankfully, no. If not, I would never be able to build a prototype. We begin with this. We begin with stage 3 when we did the brainstorm. Remember? When we did the brainstorm, we divided all the ideas that we came to during our process in this quadrant. Innovative and doable, which means it's a very new idea or a new approach to an idea, and we have the resources to do it, the resources and the technology to do it. We have ideas that are innovative but not actually doable just yet, ideas that are executable but not innovative. There are already a lot of solutions just like that, and the ideas that are not executable and not innovative yet. So the fact that we have ideas in these 3 quadrants that are not innovative and doable doesn't mean that they're bad ideas, as we talked last class. Means that there are ideas that I need to store in my ideas folder because I might need them later. They might come in handy later. They might be useful later. They're not bad ideas. They're just not what I need right now. So we start organizing our ideas in the quadrants, and we get all the ideas, the awesome ideas that we had that are innovative and doable. We pick those. It might have been one idea in this quadrant. It might have been many. And what do I do if there are many ideas? Well, we organize these ideas, all the ideas that got into this quadrant that are innovative and executable, and we organize them from cheapest to execute to most expensive to start. Because among these ideas, there are going to be ones that perhaps none of them are cheap. Perhaps all of them require financing and help from other parties, but there's always one that is easier, that you have more access, that you know the people, that you can get the resources, that perhaps you have everything you need at home. So we select the cheapest and quickest idea to execute, and we leave the rest on standby. Perhaps we might come to them later in the process. Perhaps this first idea is exactly what we need. So from then, we select our idea, we have our idea, and that's the end of stage 3. We have our idea, that is innovative, that is executable, and that is going to solve the problem that I identify in stage two, the piece of the problem that I identify in stage two for the people that I identify in stage one. Everything is connected, everything works connected all the time. And now we get to actually prototype. I'm going to share the link of this video. There is a Google video that shows us how to actually
What is
prototype and
The way I
how
think
to
about it, a prototype is an
the
experimental
different
model of an idea.
versions of a
It's a way
prototype.
to give our ideas a presence. So we can put in front of somebody else to see if our idea has value.
We have high-tech prototypes. We have
I put ideas in front of people who use our
very
products
simple
all
prototypes that I just draw on a piece of
Is your idea
paper.
ready to be put
I
in
can
front of
construct
people?
prototypes with
In fact, in this video series, we'll share with you several types of
whatever
prototyping methods that you can use
pieces
to
of
put ideas in front of
cardboard and
people.
metal I can find at home.
Now, how will you
That
know when
there's
it's
no
time to
limit
use
to
it?
what you can do with prototypes.
Developing
And
your
this
prototype
video is going to
is
give you a bit of
So don't be
ideas
afraid to share your
about how
prototypes
to do it.
early
And
and often.
the
Feedback
link,
to guide
I'm
you
going to
next
share it
time.
right away with
We put together a
the
series of
Coderina
three
team,
videos
so
that
you have it available for you.
Google. There's sketching
There
and
it
paper
is.
prototyping, digital prototyping, native prototyping.
Okay, so
So to get things
like
started,
you can see
let's
in the
take a look
video,
at
there
how
is
creative people
sketching,
can
there
ideate
is
ahead.
high-tech prototypes, there is construction prototypes. We will get into that later. You can watch the whole video. It's about 6 minutes. It's very easy to digest and it's very fun. So when you're going to build your prototype, there it is shared on the chat, so you can bookmark it and watch it after we finish the class. What the prototype must have is the following, especially for this first stage. It's easy to do. It must be easy for you. So we all have abilities, we all have skills. We're good for certain things and we're not good for certain other things. We cannot be good for everything, and that goes for everybody, for your teachers, for your parents, for you, for me. So find your strengths and use those techniques, the techniques that come easier for you to build this prototype. This is supposed to be a fun, creative process, not a pain. So are you good with your hands? Are you good constructing things? Are you good drawing? Are you good building? Are you good talking? Choose whatever comes easier for you and use that as a tool to construct. It must be easy because you're going to be repeating this process constantly. If you choose something that you're not good at, that you don't feel comfortable with, that something that you don't know yet, for example, I would love to be able to do prototypes, to code and create actual prototypes of an application, but I don't know coding. And if I tried to do it, it would take me probably a year to build just a simple prototype, perhaps even more. So I don't code. I'm good talking. So when I'm going to present a prototype, I do a PowerPoint presentation showing this is our solution, this is the idea, this is how we're going to make it work, this is the people that are having the problem, and I organize the idea and I show it to the people. Perhaps if I was like my mom, she's great with her hands, she's great constructing things, like all these plastic artistic things, and she would build something. My dad is an architect, he can also build stuff. I didn't inherit those skills. So I just go with my strengths. Find your strengths, use those to create the prototype. The prototype must be cheap to do because, again, remember, this is a cycle. You're going to be repeating. It's very unlikely that on your first iteration of the problem, on your first idea of a solution and the first prototype for that solution, everything works perfectly. It's hard to you have to be clairvoyant to do something like that. This is a process, and you're going to have to repeat it many times. So the prototype that you're going to construct on this first stage must be as cheap as possible. Use whatever you have laying in your house, whatever things you can come to on your daily life, like things you can perhaps get in school, things you can get in your home. You can ask the help of friends, but it must be easily accessible to you, because the hardest it is for you to construct the prototype, you're going to be biased about this process. So let me explain it another way. If I want to, let's say I'm trying to develop new tech for a mug, a coffee mug. I'm trying to develop new tech. So I'm going to build a prototype. I have the idea in my head. I have a very cool idea, new technology, and I'm going to develop the prototype. If for the prototype I have to spend $1,000 and 3 weeks of work each time that I have to do a change, I'm going to alter the process in my head to make it work the first time, because I don't have $1,000 more to spend, and I don't want to start working 3 weeks all over again. And the process is going to give me a failed product, because I wasn't objective with the process. The cheapest and the easiest and the funnest it is for you to create this prototype, the more eager you're going to be to go back to it and work it and put more time, more love, more ideas into it, and you're going to get a better product or a better service. So again, needs to be cheap. And finally, add your passion. Some people are introverts. They don't like speaking in public. They don't like being the center of attention. So you can, some other people love talking in front of audiences. Some people love to sing. Some people love to just do physical stuff. Depending on what is your style, what do you feel comfortable with, use that in the process of creating. If I don't like talking in public, if I'm more introvert, I'm going to avoid using a presentation as a prototype, because that means that I'm going to have to be presenting and talking to people even more than what is needed. So it's going to make the process a pain. And this process cannot be a pain, because, again, we will repeat it constantly. So, do you like to sing? Okay, create a song that presents a project and use it in your prototype. Do you like movies and TV shows and stuff like that? Well, do a video that explains how the solution works. There's no limit. There is no list of these 5 things can be the prototype. No. You can get as creative as possible, as you want. And this is something that is, again, repeated on most of this design thinking process. Get creative, find your passion, find what you feel comfortable with, and use that to keep moving forward in the cycle. So, to recap, the prototype must be easy to do for you, must be comfortable and hopefully fun. It must be cheap to do. You have to have the resources to build that prototype available for you as easy as possible, and use whatever passion you have for things to enhance this experience. So we can build something like a cardboard model of the product that I want to show to people. We can sing it. We can create a jingle, like a commercial for the project. I can write like a document explaining how everything works. I can just create toys with or models with what I have in my home. Oh, sorry. There we go. I can build specs or slides of how this application, for example, might work. No limit. Find what is easy for you, find what is comfortable for you, and start building. This stage should be 100% creative and hopefully 100% fun. When we're talking about creating new companies, creating new businesses, creating new products or services, immediately in our heads we go to Excel spreadsheets and numbers and boring things. Well, at least for me, I'm not a big fan of numbers. But this part of the process, we get to play. We get to be kids again and just, hey, do you have Play-Doh or plastilin or, I don't know, coloring pencils in your house? Go nuts. This is the fun part. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that the problem that I'm trying to solve is that in my city, there are a lot of people that wake up very early to go to work, but because of COVID, a lot of coffee shops and a lot of places where people would go and buy breakfast, they're not open. So a lot of people don't have the option of buying breakfast. Going to work without breakfast, going to study without breakfast is a very painful experience. So, someone is asking if I can share my screen. Can everybody see my screen, or am I having a technical problem here? Please, someone confirm if you can see my shared screen. Thank you very much. I'll keep moving forward with the example. So the problem that I want to solve is people don't have a place to have breakfast in the morning. Cheap, good, easy, quick. So my idea, of course, would be, well, there are no coffee shops. I'm going to open a coffee shop. And I'm going to do the big investment. I'm going to build a pretty place with good quality coffee. I'm going to hire a bunch of people to attend to the clients, and I'm going to pay the utilities and all that stuff. That is a big investment, and that is going to take a lot of time, and it's a big bet. Am I sure that people are going to actually go to this place to buy breakfast? Or ask for breakfast delivery? No, I'm not really sure. I haven't measured it, so I don't have that much money and time to just throw away in trying to guess. What we're doing here is avoid guessing and try to know things. So opening a coffee shop in this place would be a big risk. Like a drone that delivers fruit from far places, that can be exactly a solution. That's the final solution. But having a lot of drones to deliver food to your neighborhood, it's a cool idea. It's expensive. Do you know if people want drones to at some point show up in your window and scare you? We don't know. How do we get sure? Well, we prototype. What would be a prototype of delivering coffee and breakfast to people and see what happens? Well, I'll just start using my coffee machine in my house and start selling coffee to my neighbors. Just print little pamphlets with my home printer, deliver it to everybody in my building. I live in a 10 plus story building, and I'll deliver a pamphlet saying, hey, I'm cooking breakfast from 6 to 8 a.m. every day. If you want breakfast, call this number, send me a text message, and I'll take breakfast to your door, very warm, very fresh, and see what happens. The cost and the investment of this is practically nothing, just printing a few pamphlets, buying a few bags of coffee and bread for sandwiches, something like that. And I'm going to be able to realize very quickly if people are in need of a place, of a coffee breakfast delivery system or not. If I figure out that they are not interested in this solution, I spend very little money and very little time. But if I am right and people want this, I already have a lot of clients in my building and money is coming in, which means that I can do smart investments to the future with this project. Okay, so the prototype that I'm showing in this case to people is, here is your tray of a coffee and a sandwich. Do you like it? Do you like the price? Do you like the presentation? Do you like what's in it? Do you like the hours? Do you like me, like my presentation when I deliver food? Presentation is very important when when you're dealing with food. So all those things that I think might work, I can turn into I know that they work or they don't work with my prototype. This is the importance of this part of the process. Building a proper prototype, which can be drawings on a piece of paper, a recording of your voice explaining something, a PowerPoint presentation, something that you crafted with clay or whatever you want. Building a proper prototype and showing it to people, that is the testing stage, the final stage that we're going to review next Saturday, is key to avoid losing a lot of time and losing a lot of resources. The thing that we lack the most in this age is time. Of course, resources are always, by definition, scarce. But the motivation of this design thinking process is, on one hand, build things that people actually need, and that's for the customer. The customer gets things, cool, innovative things that solve their problem. What do we get as creators? We get a method that helps us save money, save time, save frustration. Okay? That is why it's important to do this, to follow this process and to build good prototypes. But we have a problem. I don't know what to do. Like I have the idea in my head, I have the solution that I come to after this first 3 stages of design thinking. And now I'm trying to think, what prototype can I build? How do I make this work? And well, creativity is tricky. We talked about this last class. It's you can foster. We talked about it related to the brainstorming process. You can foster certain environments that help you be more creative, but creativity cannot be pushed. It happens. So first of all, find what gets you in a creative mood, in a good mood, in a happy, joyful mood. Perhaps it can be a music playlist. Perhaps it can be watching a movie. It can be hanging out with your friends, going for a walk, whatever gets the wheels in your head running. For example, for me, what gets me in my best creative mood is going out for a walk, listening to music. Of course, everything that involves going out of your house, you must be careful, especially in COVID times. So if wherever you live is still not safe to go out, or you're on a lockdown or anything, don't go for a walk. Find other creative alternatives. But I go for a walk, I listen to music, and I walk for an hour, for 2 hours, and my mind at some point starts running, and I start thinking of weird creative things, and Doesn't mean that all the ideas are good, but I start getting ideas, and that gets me in a more creative mood. So find what gets you in that creative mood, whatever it is, and start thinking and looking for inspiration. You can find inspiration anywhere, everywhere. But my recommendation, start with YouTube. YouTube is a creative platform. Everybody that uploads a video there, they are creating content, they're creating something. And just by watching those creations, their creativity, you can get inspired. But what to do and what not to do. Look for other people solving your problems. I want to solve the problem of breakfast delivery in the mornings. Well, I'll just Google that. I'll look for that in YouTube and see what the algorithm shows me. Perhaps there's a lot of people that are solving this same problem in Taiwan, and their solution, I can learn a lot of that solution and implement it where I live. Perhaps I realize that nobody's solving this problem, and I see an even bigger opportunity that I thought they were. Perhaps there are people solving the problem in a way that I never thought of using. So, like Jane said, I never thought of drone deliverance breakfast. I can get some inspiration from there and keep moving on my lane, on my idea, keep working on my project. But hey, now I know that there's drone delivery, and that inspires me in some way. Look for other solutions. It's important and this, we can do a whole class of this. Being innovative, which is what we're looking for here in design thinking, we want to create innovative solutions, means that I have to know what's out there to create something new. So I cannot just copy an idea. I cannot just go and steal Jane's idea of drone delivery delivery breakfast. I can adapt it, I can enhance it, I can add something to it, and I can make it new by adding something to that. It's going to be drone breakfast delivery, but the drones are going to be dressed up like puppies. So you're going to see flying puppies delivering coffee around your town. I'm using her idea of inspiration and adding a new layer, and it becomes innovative. So it's not just, when I say look for inspiration, it's not look for, this is not like cheating on a test, looking to the test of your classmate and copying the answer. You have to add something new, something of your own, to make it innovative. Okay. And the only way to know what's new, in order to create something new, I need to know what's out there. So Google your idea, Google your solution, Google the problem that you're trying to solve. Not necessarily Google, use whatever search engine you like the most, and see what's out there. You're going to find inspiration, you're going to find competition, you're going to find ideas. Okay? So look for other people solving the problem. Look for what kind of prototypes are out there. I told you, this is there's no limit to what kind of prototypes you can create. You can use whatever materials, you can use tech, you can use anything. And when the realm of possibilities is so big, is so massive, well, we need inspiration to see where do we start. So get into YouTube and say, hey, if I want to build, let's say I want to build an app, but I don't know how to code. So say, okay, how can I build an app prototype with household items? And I'm sure there's going to be tons of tutorials of, hey, like how to draw on a piece of paper your app screen by screen, how to use cardboard from boxes to create smartphone screens to show different apps. You'll might be surprised of how many solutions, how much inspiration, how many cool prototypes, cheap, easy prototypes you can get online. Use this to your advantage. Remember, it's not copying, it's inspiration. There's a big difference. When you copy, you just do the copy paste. I see that idea and execute that same idea, exactly the same, with just another name or another coat of paint. That's not innovation. Add something from your own. Add something from your thoughts, from your experience, from your passions to it. Not just the drone delivering coffee, but I added the puppy drone delivering coffee, and then not just delivering coffee. Perhaps it's I use the drone delivering coffee as an inspiration, but now I'm going to move to the pizza market, and now my drones deliver pizzas. Okay, those are thin layers of innovation. Inspiration, not copy. Look for what your client does and likes. When we create a solution, remember, the focus is on the person that is having the problem, not what I think is the coolest idea ever. So, if my solution is I'm going to deliver, I'm going to deliver like important documents and papers for the elderly, people over 65, that they need to do a lot of errands, and hey, I need to take this certificate here and this paper to the bank and then get the signature here, all that stuff, boring stuff. A lot of them don't have the time or don't have the energy to do it, so I'm going to solve that problem. If I try to solve it with the coolest idea that I can think of right now, which is drones delivering papers, it's not going to work because my potential clients, the elderly, are not very keen on flying robots showing up in their apartments and taking papers. You're probably going to give them a heart attack. So you need to look for what they like, what they do, what are they doing today to solve the problem. So I look for inspiration in other solutions that people are using right now for the problem that you have. In the case of this paperwork, this boring paperwork that I want to solve for the elderly, what they do right now is either they do it themselves or they pay how do you call it, like a messenger guy to go and pick up everything at your home and then deliver it to the bank and then take it back again to home. That's what they're doing. So let's try to find a solution that it's comfortable for people like that, and the prototype needs to be, of course, akin to that people, that kind of people. I don't know if I explained myself properly here, but please ask if you didn't understand. But what I'm trying to say here is that different kinds of people, different segments of potential clients have different ways of that they are expecting different things in their solution. So when I choose a solution that I'm going to turn into a prototype, I don't just have to think about what I want, what I think is the best idea. I have to think is how, what they are looking for, what they are expecting, and how I'm going to serve them. And finally, see examples of prototypes and learn. So if I'm doing this breakfast delivery system, look for breakfast delivery systems and learn from them. What they are doing, what they fail, how they fail when they began. All that information you can find Googling, you can find on YouTube videos, interviews, etc. Just watching this, you're going to learn a lot, and you're probably going to find the inspiration that you need for whatever prototype you will have. So if when I told you a few minutes back that Now is the time to turn that solution into a real prototype, and you started freaking out and getting anxious because you don't have any idea. You can't get creative right now. You cannot think of a way to make that happen. Like, rest assured, you will find a way. And there's tons and tons of inspiration that you can look for online. You just need to start doing it. Next class, we will get to the part of show and not tell. I'll explain why the not tell, but the final stage is when you have your prototype, your concrete prototype, something tangible that I can feel, that I can sense, I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can touch. And we have to show it to the people that have the problem. Oh, thank you, Halima. I was worried that you weren't having access to the presentation. So, and what show and not tell, when the usual way of show and tell, because the best prototype is the one that I show to someone that has a problem, and they look at it and they kind of play with it a little bit and they understand it perfectly. If I have to explain it, this is like a joke. If I tell a joke and people laugh, it was a good joke. If I have to explain the joke wasn't very good, wasn't ready. Perhaps it was a good joke, but not for the right people. So what we will do on our final stage, and we'll get to that next week, is actually showing our prototypes to the people that we interview, to the people that have the problem, and see what is their opinion, what do they think. And depending on their reactions, we move back on the cycle, we learn something new, and we keep creating. Okay? So, to recap this fourth stage, prototyping, what we do here is, from the brainstorming process, we organize the ideas into this quadrant, we pick the innovative and doable ideas, we organize those ideas from cheapest and easiest to execute to most expensive and hardest to execute. And then when with that idea chosen, we create it. Now, please share in the chat if you have any ideas right now for your prototypes. If you don't have an idea of what to do, share the solutions that you want to build, and let's see if I can help you create something. Whatever idea, inspiration you want to share it in the chat. So my recommendation is, the first prototype, draw it, even if you're not good at drawing. I understand that most of your prototypes are going to be, or your solutions are going to be tech solutions, because that's what you're learning here. So let's say that 90% of you are going to build apps, web apps or mobile apps. Take a piece of paper, draw a smartphone, and start drawing inside how the application is going to look. This is the login screen, this is the welcome screen, this is the create your account screen, this is you swipe left and this happens, you have swipe right and this happens, and organize it. This is like a storyboard. Think of a comic book. I'm pretty sure that all of you have seen a comic book in your lives. Either you like it or you're not, but you have seen one, you've read one. This is just the same. You tell the story of the product with drawings, with sorry, I lost the word in English. Like with screenshots, you just tell the story of your product. This is a problem that I want to solve. This is how I want to solve it. This is what the app is going to do for you. So use simple things, use cheap things that you have available in your house, in your school, in your whatever place you can go to look for resources, and don't feel feel free to ask for help. Ask if, hey, I really want to do something in cardboard, something that looks cool, but I'm not good with my hands constructing things, but my friend does. My sister is very good with this, so ask for help. Again, ideally, do something that is comfortable for you and that goes with your strength, because this is a process that you're going to have to do constantly. After the final stage, when you show people your prototype, people are going to are going to give you feedback. The feedback is going to be good and bad. They're going to say, hey, I like this, I love this, I don't like this, I don't like the color, I don't like this format, I don't understand it. And you write all that down, and with that feedback, you move back to stage 3, ideate. Okay, so we review. Is this solution, does this solution make sense for the client? It does? Okay, so now we move again to prototype. The client, potential user, didn't understand the prototype. So I have to make it simpler. I have to make it more clear. They love the prototype, but they didn't like the format. Okay, let's try another format. They loved everything, but they hated the color. Okay, switch the color. And then I go back to stage 5, the one that we will review next week. And this can be a cycle that repeats many, many times. So go with your strengths, go with your passions, with things that hopefully make you happy, that you have fun with. Questions, ideas, thoughts, comments, complaints, whatever you want to share, we are here to help. The Coderina team and myself, we are ready to answer your questions, to comment on your thoughts, to solve your complaints. And I told you that you have access whenever you have a question that I can help you with. That is my email, my personal email. You can write me with whatever question. You have a prototype that you want to check with me and see what feedback it can give you. Feel free to write whenever you want. I'll answer as fast as possible, and hopefully I can help you create a cool prototype, so when you have your final presentation in, I think it's 2 weeks time, you have something that you're proud of presenting. Okay, so again, the floor is yours. Questions, thoughts, ideas, comments. Feel free to write in the chat. And if you don't have any other questions, feel free. We'll leave the class here, and we'll see each other next Saturday for the final testing stage. Okay. I know that there's, with this streaming service, there's a bit of delay, so I'll give you a few minutes to write your questions if you have some. And I'm going to look for a video that perhaps is going to help you. This is very creative, one of the best prototype presentations that I've seen. Okay, I'm going to share it with
My name is Josh.
the team. There you go. There's infinite amount, and you probably know it better than I do, that there's so much inspiration you can get from YouTube. Does it happen that when you start watching you start watching one video and then you go to the next and then you go to another one and you keep going through this rabbit hole and you end up watching something that has nothing to do with your first search. Use that to your advantage. Use that to look for inspiration. Okay? There's the link in the chat. It's a guy selling the idea of advertising in paper cups, the paper cups that you get when you buy coffee anywhere. You can get, just see the video. He finds a very, very cool way, a very impactful way of showing why advertisement in a paper cup is the best idea ever. Something as simple. So, I see that there are no questions, no comments. So, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me. Hopefully, this video is going to help you with your process. Remember that you have my email, and you can contact me whenever you want with questions about this design thinking process. And I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for your time.